What knowledge might save your life one day? If you ever use boiled linseed oil to treat wood, don't leave soaked rags lying in the trash. They oxidize, and after a few hours can self-combust. If you were ever bitten by a bat, raccoon, fox, or skunk, go directly to the hospital. There is no cure for rabies once it is fully onset. Never mix bleach and glass window cleaner ammonia. Don't underestimate rabies, ever. It won't kill you in the coming weeks, but it'll 100% kill you when it incubates and the symptoms start. When people say to take an aspirin to help during a heart attack, chew the pill. Don't swallow it whole, it gets absorbed much quicker. 120 people will get bowel cancer in their lifetime. You need some sort of screening starting at age 45 to 50 depending on your family history. Any blood in the stool needs to be checked out. Early cancers can be completely cured with keyhole surgery. You don't have to die of bowel cancer. If someone is trying to abduct you, fight back. Most abductors will just give up if they meet resistance. And whatever you do, don't let them take you to another location. You ain't taking me to no secondary location. If your car is going underwater, an electronic roll-down button will work regardless of the water pressure outside the car, but a manual handle is much more difficult. You also won't be able to open the door. It's better to have something in the glove box like an ice scraper to break the glass with. Mythbusters did a whole thing on it. That episode saved a woman's life. She wrote to them to tell them, and Adam Savage cried knowing he'd helped to save a life. If a rhino is running towards you, wait until the last second, then sidestep out of the way. Rhinos cannot make sudden turns and will give you a couple seconds head start to run in the other direction. Repeat as necessary. When touching something electrical, use the back of your hand. Using your palm on, say, a live wire will cause your hand to grab it and you be unable to let go. As an electrician, just don't grab electrical things at all. Let me do it, instead. If you're a pedestrian and crossing a street, if you can see the sun's reflection on the windshield of a car, there's a good chance the driver cannot see you. If you drive after being up for more than 17 hours, the level of your impairment is equal to legally being drunk. Don't drive while sleepy. Carry lighter even if you don't smoke. Only problem with that is no matter how many lighters you carry, an hour later some voodoo witchcraft will happen and they'll vanish out of nowhere. If you've been carjacked and the carjacker tells you to just drive, take whatever chance you get to wreck. At minimum, you're getting emergency services involved, meaning it's more likely they'll be caught, and there's a chance you'll incapacitate or even kill the carjacker. Of course, there's also a chance that you might not survive. But, if they're taking you to a second location, odds are you weren't going to come back anyway. If you fall into cold open water, resist the urge to swim and try to float until the onset of panic subsides. Once you have your breathing under control, you can then start to swim to safety. By doing this, you will not hyperventilate and avoid potentially drowning. If you're ever charged by a moose, get behind a tree. They have about a 10-inch blind spot and they'll lose you. 100% research and verify all of these tips. A lot of information can change over time, or don't trust Reddit strangers. Keep a 360 of your surroundings as you drive. Heck, period, when you're out and about, but especially while driving. I was at a four-way stop. My red light turns green. I looked left before I moved. There's a dude going 60 in a 30. The dude behind me starts honking and acting like "F you, what are you doing?" The speedsters flashes by a moment or two into his fit, and I see him in my mirror acts are apologetic, waving sorry and all that, thanking me cause he or I would have been had I just not looked. If you call 911, always say where the problem is first, followed by the problem. If you happen to get cut off before you can say what the problem is, at least the dispatcher has a location to send an officer to check it out and advise if more police or fire is needed. Example, operator, 911, where is your emergency? You, help, I am being stabbed. Versus, operator, 911, where is your emergency? You, 742 Evergreen Terrace. Help, I am. Location, location, location. If you have to get out of a moving car, then put one foot down and take a step, don't just jump out. This will reduce your speed immensely. Sure, you will fall over, but at a much reduced speed. A stuntman told me this. If the tide suddenly goes out unexpectedly, run like you stole it, for higher ground. I read about a 10-year-old English girl who had just learned this before going on vacation with her family to Thailand. Then the big tsunami that killed a few 100,000 came. She saw the water retreat and the other tourist walk out on the exposed seafloor. She freaked out, and convinced everybody to run for higher ground. A lot of people were saved by a little girl who had paid attention in school. They later brought a lot of flowers to the teacher. EMT here. If you're ever choking on food in a public venue, do not go to the restroom to avoid causing a scene. Almost every death I've seen from people choking are found unconscious in a bathroom stall because they were too polite to seek help. Wear a helmet. Wear a seatbelt. It may not be cool, but you're more fragile than you lead yourself to believe. I've lost 3 friends because of these. Don't be a statistic, please. There's someone that would miss you and think, I just wish they had put a helmet, seatbelt on. If you've been buried alive in a standard coffin, stay calm. If you are alive, you haven't been buried that long. Also, the dirt above you hasn't set yet. Most coffins are not built to last once buried and as a result have weak siding. So here is what you do. Pull your shirt over your head. You don't want to be swallowing dirt. Position yourself so you are as sideways in the coffin as possible with hands and feet pushing on the long sides. Push. You should be able to blow out one of the walls. Start crawling up. Do not panic. You may not find a grip immediately. Keep going until you make it out. Worst nightmare. If you're first in line at an intersection, look both ways before going when the light turns green. You never know when someone is going to run a red light. Female heart attack symptoms are often different than those commonly described, and women commonly assume they are just fatigued, or have the flu and die as they do not seek medical treatment. Uncomfortable pressure, squeezing, fullness or pain in the center of your chest. It lasts more than a few minutes, or goes away and comes back. Pain or discomfort in one or both arms, the back, neck, jaw or stomach. Shortness of breath with or without chest discomfort. Other signs such as breaking out in a cold sweat, nausea or lightheadedness. As with men, women's most common heart attack symptom is chest pain or discomfort, but women are somewhat more likely than men to experience some of the other common symptoms, particularly shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting and back or jaw pain. Women are more likely to lack chest pain. Instead, they may experience shortness of breath, pressure or pain in the lower chest or upper abdomen, dizziness, lightheadedness or fainting, upper back pressure or extreme fatigue. If you or a woman you know is fatigued, out of breath, has jaw pain and neck tension, feels nauseous, etc., they may be suffering a heart attack. Chest and left arm pain is not a universal symptom. The last time this was asked, I actually read something that later, at the very least, saved my ass. Don't try to put out a grease fire with water. You must smother it. If you have to get through a locked door, don't charge into it with your shoulder. Instead, kick it straight on next to the doorknob handle. This has a much better chance of breaking the lock. Never use bleach and ammonia-based cleaning products at the same time, in the same room. A combination of both their vapors creates chloramine vapor which can kill you if inhaled. Check your cleaning supplies to see what's in them, especially toilet and tile cleaners. In Australia you can always make calls to 000 regardless of whether you have signal, credit. Your mobile will use any available network to connect you. There is no such thing as a fair fight. This is something my dad drilled into my head for years. You never know what the other person's mentality is going to be. If you get in a fight, they may be hell-bent on killing you. They may have a hidden weapon you don't know about. Do anything and everything you can to survive. Kick out knees. Gouge eyes. Knee the groin. Whatever it takes to know you'll survive. If you are in danger or in need of help, in a public place, it's almost always a bad idea to just yell help. It's more important to be specific. Pointing at someone and telling them to call 911 will be more effective. The bystander effect can be a real bitch sometimes. I tell my kids to break windows if someone is attacking them or the like. Yelling help may not get cops. Breaking windows will. I'll gladly pay for windows to keep my kids safe. I can't replace my kids. This thread is giving me anxiety. If your car suddenly accelerates beyond control and the brakes are unresponsive, shift the car into neutral and slowly apply the brakes. This situation happened to a family in CA some years ago. They had no idea what to do and tragically lost their lives. When you're staying in a hotel, take the time to read the diagram on the back of the door showing where the emergency escape route is. Take your room key with you if you leave the room in an emergency, as you might need to get back. Have your shoes on when the flight you're on is landing or taking off. Statistically, that's when bad stuff happens and you don't want to be in bare feet for an evacuation. If someone is choking, ask them, "Are you choking?" Bear with me. If they can answer you, they're not choking. If they can't, you can go straight to the Heimlich maneuver. If you're accidentally poisoned with methanol, ethanol is an effective treatment as medical help isn't immediately available. Don't get the drinks from the same place that poisoned you in the first place. If you're alone and start choking with nobody around to give you the Heimlich, you can give yourself the Heimlich by using the back of a chair or similar objects like the sidearm of a couch or whatever. Forcefully throw your stomach over the back of the chair a few times. Try to mimic the motion of the Heimlich push-in above the belly button, then up, kind of like a J motion. I always try to remember this, but anytime I think I'm slightly choked, this logic goes out the window. If you ever fall, get pushed down from the platform onto the rails at a subway station. Try to roll under the platform. Many stations have space there, like little overhang, for exactly that reason. If you feel chronically unwell all the time and you get told there is nothing wrong with you by your doctor, that you are suffering purely mental health problems or hypochondria, don't give up pushing for answers unless you know subconsciously this is the case. Hypochondria is not as common as some physicians seem to think, and even if the problem was psychological or psychosomatic in nature, it is still a problem that needs dealing with. People know their own bodies and know when something is wrong. There is a vast expanse of medical conditions that are possible and very difficult to diagnose. Doctors may only deal with some rare conditions once in a career, or not at all, and won't automatically go there when considering your symptoms. I was told I was a hypochondriac for 10 years and everything was blamed on lifestyle and mental health. I went from the youngest international shipping director in my sector to practically bed-bound and in terrible health and distress over 2 months at 21, and was told nothing was wrong for the next 10 years. Turned out I had a rare disease called Cushing's, which was damaging my heart, atrophying my brain, causing central hormonal obesity, constant infections and damage to my bones, and destroying my quality of life. I had almost zero testosterone in my body and a dangerous amount of cortisol, stress hormone. It was left to get worse for a decade. Before the self-righteous lecture comment, this is not an indictment of the medical profession. These things are difficult and not all doctors are the same. They do a great job most of the time, but doctors are human like everyone else, and this makes them fallible. But if I gave up and didn't keep pushing, I wouldn't be here today. That water you're about to dive into might not be as deep as you think. If you have what looks like a small pimple or a spider bite and you see a red line streaking away from that area towards your body, go to an emergency room. You likely have a staph or strep infection that is spreading through your lymphatic system or bloodstream, and your body can go septic at any moment. Sepsis lethality is 40 to 60%. This happened to me earlier this year, and I only knew how serious it was because of a post I read on Reddit years back. How to tie a bowline with one hand. If somebody throws you a rope, you have to tie it around you while holding onto it with one hand. A normal knot will come undone or tighten up around you, potentially smothering you, but a bowline won't. Always leave your itinerary with someone. If you meet strangers, i.e., potential bad people, on the road, always let them know that you are in touch with friends and family and that they know exactly where you are. You become less attractive as a victim. When you go into a building, look for an exit that is not the one you used to come in. In an emergency, most people will head out their original exit, but you will head out of the exit less traveled, and it may make all the difference. If you ever are kayaking and become pinned upside down, swim down deeper into the water to escape the kayak. You may not be able to flip it over.